We are waiting still for two more people, Eduardo and Ricardo. Maybe we give it a minute, Greg.
Okay.
I recognize your background, Patty.
Yes, of course. Familiar setting. Yeah, with me constantly moving.
Yes, you certainly are a moving target.
Yes, for sure. Huh?
Yes.
And so are you, Firuze. What exact date are you leaving?
I am leaving on Monday. My concert is Saturday, Sunday. So Monday I leave, and then
June 30th.
June 12th, leaving on the 12th.
June 12th. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Ricardo. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
Hello, Ricardo.
Okay, I think maybe we should start because Eduardo is usually late. So, Eduardo. Okay. Then let me start by welcoming everybody to Global Technopolitics Forum's research team meeting on June 4th, 2023. As you can see, we have some new faces. I'd like to welcome every one of them. Judy, Jaden, Jonathan, and Ricardo. We have some more associates and interns that because of the time differences, they couldn't be with us. So we will go around and ask everybody about the projects they have been involved and what are they doing. But let me first pass the floor to Greg to give you a short report about what we have been up to. Greg, floor is yours.
Thanks, Patty, and welcome everybody, particularly people who are new to the group. Great to have you with us. So we've been using this period to reflect a little bit on where the forum is and where it needs to go. I think we feel pretty good about many of the things we've done. We certainly got a lot of interesting output, a lot of interesting papers out, gotten some attention that way, made the brand, I think, pretty visible. We've also done well at building partnerships with other organizations, which was our aim from the beginning, both to bolster the brand, but also to get interesting work and programs done. So I think we feel like we've done a pretty good job of both of those things, really thanks to many of you on the Zoom today. What we've not done is really a good job of fundraising. And so that's been our focal point for the last couple of months, both in trying to make better use of what is really a pretty extraordinary advisory board. What we're doing is reaching out to the advisory board and sort of practicing on them. And later we'll hope come back to them and say, do you have people we might try this on for real as a fundraising pitch? The other thing we've been doing, and probably maybe want to say another word or two about that, is we've been trying to be a little more systematic about applying for grant funding, possible grants. We've done some proposals in the past, but not been successful. But we've been trying to be a little bit more systematic now and have, it seems to me, a couple or three good proposals in the works. Maybe you want to say a word about those, Patty, just to round out the...
As Greg mentioned, we were re-strategizing and looking at areas that we want to be focused. Over the last couple of years, we have made a lot of good connections with Internet Governance Institute. So we are capitalizing on that. We're focusing. That has become one of the areas that we want to focus in coming year. So we will be focusing on fragmentation of the internet and also on multi-stakeholder model. For that, we are thinking about convenings in parallel to some of the international events focused on Internet Governance Institutes, such as IGF, which is United Nations, and ISOC, Internet Society. We have pretty good connections between them. I have appeared in both of them in various forums and panels. So that's one area that we will be focused. In terms of issues, we will be focusing a lot on AI. And Jonathan just did a good paper on AI that he will share with you. We are also focusing on sustainability. So we have, I'm writing a green manifesto for ICANN, and we have been writing proposal for IGF and ISOC in terms of sustainable development. So basically greening the digital realm, that's what I called it. So these are the areas of focus for us for coming year. And within those, we have been writing proposals for various organizations. We have written one for ISOC, Internet Society. We wrote another one for NEH. And we wrote one, I submitted it yesterday for ARIN, which is American Registry for Numbers. So that's IP addresses. So we are writing more, 2-3 more proposals we have to finish within a month. And I think on that note, I want to start with Jonathan to talk about his AI paper. Jonathan, floor is yours.
Thanks so much. So I just finished up a short paper on artificial intelligence, its uses in the intelligence community, and potential risks from an over-reliance and how this would cause intelligence failures, essentially. It's just a 5 or 6 page write-up, and it has a breakdown with a focus on deep neural networks, which I think are what is really the leader in AI and has the most possibilities for applications in the intelligence community.
Jonathan, could you also just tell a few words about yourself so people could know who you are and where you are located?
Of course. So I'm here in Los Angeles. I just finished my junior year studying international relations at USC, and I've been working with Professor Treverton for the past 2 semesters doing research together.
Thank you. Thank you. Then I move to Judy. Judy has been working with me on China paper. Judy, would you like to say a few words about what you have done and about yourself as well?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Judy. I am going into my senior year at USC studying political science. And throughout this thing, I've been working on 2 projects, one about the South Korean metaverse, which basically explores the current existing metaverse policy and sort of speculates the direction of that future metaverse policy should take more of a united and more global approach. So I've just been doing a little bit of background research on that. And then recently I've also started working on the paper on China's stability and its place in sort of geopolitics. So I've just been going through reading that, revising, I guess, editing, doing the best I can. Yeah.
Well, it's really very helpful. Thank you. No, it's great.
Thank you.
And I forgot to mention that we will have a panel on metaverse. That's what Judy has been working. That is sponsored by Pacific Center. And so that's coming up, and you will all be informed about the date. So Ricardo, floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ricardo Mendoza. I'm a graduate student at USC for the Global Security Studies. My undergraduates were in political science and anthropology. I was previously and retired from the Marine Corps, so I've had, excuse me, an interest in the PRC since 1995, actually. So it was a big interest for me, but then once I started going to school, I used it as a concentration in my academics, and I'm working on the paper with the team here, and I haven't decided on which area I want to focus. I kind of like the whole paper, so if I can work on the whole paper bits and pieces, I would certainly dedicate myself. But if there's an area and concentration that you would want to assign me, I'm more than welcome to execute that area.
And that was the China paper he's talking about. I'm sorry to interrupt, Greg, please.
No, just to say, no, more to follow on that score. I think that to the extent you want to work on the whole paper, that's great too. This means we need to sort out who does what, so we don't do two things at once or not do things because somebody else is going to do it. So that'd be great, though.
And I think the proposal you mentioned, Ricardo, in terms of South America and China was quite interesting. I don't know what Greg thinks, but I find it pretty interesting addition to the paper.
Yeah, so I've had a strong interest in Latin American affairs since Richard Nixon, and even before he was the president, when he was a House congressman, and he was one of the first people to travel to Latin America. So I did a lot of research on that, and so seeing how China has picked up where Russia left off in Latin America has been a big interest, in particular with the diplomatic switching from countries moving towards diplomatic ties with China vice Taiwan. I see that as dangerous for Taiwan in the long term for Taiwan, because it's going to reduce their influence and their economic reach. And then also my concern, I also have a military concern as well, and not only maritime military operations, but maritime economies, given the fact that the Panama Canal has been receiving, or that region has been receiving a large amount of attention from the PRC, and there's been recently even more diplomatic switching with those countries. I see that as a potential vulnerability for Western countries, particularly the United States.
Thank you.
That may be a useful focal point for your work on the paper, I would think, Ricardo, because it does seem to me that there's been an awful lot of writing and commentary about China's actions in Africa and other places, but not so much about Latin America, at least not that I have seen.
Yeah, I've seen very few of focus in it. One in particular in I think it was 2018 or 2019, when the then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo had to go down there to try and convince Panama of not diplomatically switching or being careful with the relations with the PRC. One of the connecting tissues that I found interesting is there's not a lot of work done on how Cuba ties with the Chinese Communist Party. The PRC has a large amount of sensing apparatuses and in Cuba that allows them to basically eavesdrop if they want to on countries in the Western Hemisphere. And so when you combine all these coalescing factors, I think it's certainly, at least for me, it's a reason to bring attention to our own region, our own front door.
Yeah, I think it will be a great addition to the paper. Thank you. So Jaden hasn't started the project yet, but I'd like her to introduce herself. And she's also USC, so you guys could meet up. Jaden?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So I actually just transferred to USC last semester. So that was my first semester at USC. I was previously at the University of Texas at San Antonio. So kind of a big transition there. Yes, so I'm currently going into my senior year as a political science major, and it's been a really great experience so far.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jaden. So Paul, would you like to tell us what you have been up to?
Well, I have a background in telecommunications, but more recently interested in developments in biotech, especially synthetic biology. And of course, there are geopolitical concerns and issues related to that domain, which I don't think have been really considered too carefully at the moment. So that's something that I've been taking a little bit closer look at. So yeah, that's sort of it in a nutshell. Currently located in Paris. Anyway, just based on the comments previously, sort of curious about what's going on with China in Central and South America. And also, I mean, we tend to get concerned every time China gets involved anywhere, whether it's in Africa or Central and South America, but I would hesitate to be overly concerned. I mean, that has to be balanced against what the US's position in a lot of the countries, especially in South America, are like, and they seem to be at the moment, as far as I can see, but I could be proven wrong, definitely quite a bit stronger than those that China enjoys. And I'm not quite so sure that that there's this huge vulnerability that I think was referenced just before. I think there's a little bit more of a nuanced or balanced view. I think that has to be considered. And maybe some opportunities. I think there's a lot of rhetoric about competition with China and being concerned about China is getting ahead of the US in all these areas, but I hear quite a lot less about areas for collaboration and cooperation, which I think is key to sustainability over the long term for both countries, but very little attention paid to that. So maybe that's something to consider as the various papers are being developed, is where can we actually cooperate, collaborate? And I do believe that there are plenty of opportunities, some of which have been articulated by the current administration. I'm thinking of Ms. Yellen specifically, but there have been others, but I think they've sort of gotten pushed to the side. So I think that might be an area of interest.
That's a really great point, Paul. I think it's, we are in a kind of hysterical period about China. It's I think it has its dangers. Not everything they do is bad, and as you say, there are lots of areas where we should cooperate. And the administration has sketched out some of those, but it's hard to, in some ways, it's really hard to cooperate on the very big issues if you're competing on some of the smaller issues. That's not the usual way we think about international cooperation happening. We usually think it starts with the small issues and then rises to the bigger ones. We're in some sense trying to do the opposite, to cooperate on the very big issues like the climate crisis, but then compete on many smaller issues, especially economic ones.
Yeah, I think collaboration is actually a necessity. And also in terms of China's involvement, I think its moves in Middle East is quite interesting. It's delivering some good, I think. Yep. But we have to watch that as well. But it's interesting, the movement it's making all around the world. So Puran, we haven't heard from you. What have you been up to?
Thank you, Pari. I mean, it has been a pleasure to meet all of you after such a long time. And I have a couple of things to report. I mean, I have been all along working in the area of poverty, development, disparity, climate change. And then I had a chance, an opportunity to be in Taiwan, in Taipei, with some of the finest people working under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And my work with them will continue. While in Taipei, and I completely agree with Paul and Greg and you too, Pari, that China is an animal which is there in every room. I mean, you talk about anything, they pop up. And there is no one panacea or no one solution as to how do you really deal with this animal. And therefore, broadly speaking, anybody and everybody I met in Southeast Asia, because I traveled across Southeast Asia, everybody said, we cannot let China go loose because it could be very dangerous. So we have to figure out ways and means, areas and issues, geographies, as to how do we really engage with this animal. So while we need to engage with them, price is going to be pretty high because Chinese are very difficult. And engagement with China is really going to be, on a different kind of scale and scope altogether. So on the one hand, we have to engage, but the price of engagement with China and not engaging with China, on both accounts, the price is going to be pretty high. And in Taiwan, one thing is very clear, that people are really waiting to see what happens to Taiwan. Because when I was talking to people within the foreign ministry, everybody said, we have only a couple of years to go before something good or bad will happen. And they only bank on Americans because they say Americans are the only people who can probably help us. Not save, nobody knows what will happen, but they say that the only country and the only people on the planet Earth are Americans who could probably help them. So it is sort of playing out in a very different and difficult way. Now, as regards me, I have done the following things, Pari. I'm now racing to finish my book writing. So I have to submit my content on universal basic income to Springer by the end of December 31st, 2023. And my book should be hopefully out in the first quarter of 2024. Secondly, I got an opportunity to speak during G20 presidency, which is being presided over by India. And I also wrote something about the youth track, which has been published in Africa. And as you advised me, I'm working on something which is technological development and youth in G20 economies, which I'll be finishing soon and sharing it with you. Finally, I'll be moving to Africa for about a month and a half, starting August. And so I'm really going to then also see how Chinese are sort of playing out their, playbook in Africa, and I'll be very happy to write a few pieces from Africa and share it with you. In addition, I'm also starting a year-long series on African institutions which are delivering the goods for the people and the well-being, which will sort of play out at cusp of economy, polity, and society. So that will be starting from the next month onwards. So this is a broad line of work, Pari, which I have been doing. And just to add a little bit, on the fundraising side, while areas and issues and focus, they are all very, very important things, but I think it'll be a good idea to also identify places and geographies where we could probably work in a little better way, like Taiwan, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Africa. I think, there is Europe. So I think if we could also probably identify preferred zone of our work, partners that we may have, I think that could be another good thing to probably consider. So, I thought I should, sort of leave it for you and Greg to reflect a little more deeply. But I think along with the area and issue and focus, some of these things could also probably come handy when we really play on a bigger scale and scope.
Thanks, Puran. Actually, projects are the areas I mentioned, they're global. We will look at it globally, not focus on United States. And a lot of our work has been bridging between the European panels we had, between Europe and United States, but internet governance and all the connections we've made are global. And that's one of the key actually strengths of our brand, that we are very global and we have made this connection all around the world, including Africa, which brings me to Firuze. So Firuze, we would like to hear from you, both fun side and project side.
Don't have anything to report in terms of output on my side. I've just been following stuff that's interesting to me. What's going on with Ukraine could the US have done anything to avert this whole situation? What's going on in the Sudan? Kind of like a follow-up on what my paper was all about. Right. Burhan and Hemeti, and it kind of like ties very well into what I had been talking about, and so that's interesting to me always. And then the developments in AI, which as an outsider, non-techie person, it just fills me with anxiety more than anything else. Some people are very optimistic about the advent of AI. Oh, it's going to fix everything. It will have the solutions to climate change, to poverty, to everything. And I'm going, oh my God, it's going to displace everyone. So I'm kind of like reading up and trying to understand it. And and then on the fun side, I'm in a big choir, so we're rehearsing. We're gonna have 2 concerts at Royce Hall this weekend, and then afterwards we go to Italy. So we have 3 concerts in Italy. So a lot of music like in my life right now, and I should be back mid-August sometime. And I'm missing you guys. Like, what happened to these people?
And Firuze, I think we didn't capitalize on your paper on Africa. So I do like to have a panel on that. Whenever you're ready, let me know. And if you have names for that panel, would be good to reach out. But I think, I'm sure Greg would agree with me. I think it will be nice to discuss that in a more, sort of in a panel discussion for the forum.
Okay.
Absolutely. No, it's an awfully good paper, and we haven't given it enough.
I enjoyed
it. So.
So let us know when you think in terms of time would be good for you. And also, if you have a list of people that you think will be subject matter experts, we can reach out and bring them for your panel.
Okay, let me have a think on that.
Okay, on that note, I don't think I have anything to report. So if anybody wants to discuss anything, please feel free to jump in. No? Greg?
No, that's good to have everybody together, and welcome the people who are joining us, which is terrific. Thank you.
Then I would thank everybody for being in here, and good luck with your projects, and we will be in touch during the week. And I will let you know these meetings won't be weekly, but probably monthly, and I will be in touch with all of you for next meeting. Take care and have a wonderful Sunday and rest of the week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Good week.
Thank you.